very good evening, all of you. I just found something in my wardrobe which I would like to share with all of you. This is a beautiful chakra sticks created by our beloved Sidra Jaffrey from the School of Awakening, and it was a gift to me by my friend Suri. And it reads, I heal all rigidity. I transmit harmony. I transmit love. I heal all reference points. I heal all illusions. I heal all shame. I heal all fear. I transmit acceptance. Thank you guys for joining us today on Chai, Shai, etc. We are bringing to you the first of the series of sacred sex, sacred sexuality, sex education, conversations around sex. What is this SEX word and how does it impact humanity? The humanity which lives in the mother's womb. The planet Earth whose womb nurtures us in every possible way. We live, breathe, walk on this planet. And we are now to acknowledge the womb of the planet and heal the feminine energies across whoever, wherever is listening to us. With that, I invite my very dear, crazy, nutcut drama queen, a doctor with 27 years of experience, a surgeon, a healing practitioner, a divine feminine, Dr. Geetanjali Chauhan. Hi, Geetu. Hi.
Hi, I think this is Hi, Kanchan, and this is the first time you are addressing me with so much of respect, because otherwise I'm just talking to you.
क्या करूं बाकी टाइम रिस्पेक्ट निकलता नहीं प्यार निकलता है ना बहन.
So I am indeed honored to be here with you, talking about the girly thing, talking about the much prohibited G, and I hope that I can make some sense without laughing about it too much, because I cannot help but be myself, even though the conversation may center around the word called SEX.
Don't worry, I won't allow you to waver around. And when I say that, I honor and respect what you're bringing here to the table today. It is not an easy task for us, women of centuries, to be able to speak up about ourselves. It's not been easy because we were being taught easier said than done. And moving from as easily said, as easily done, to asking you, Geetanjali, what in you as such a successful surgeon, such a successful doctor, excited you about, uh, you know, getting to know more about the womb of a woman, or the woman as a whole with or without the womb, the nurturing energy, the feminine energy, the place which comes from the center of the heart?
Yeah, so again, recollecting and going back, I think, again, I say I'm one of the privileged few. Very, I actually opened up my eyes in a hospital with my mother being a gynecologist, as I've said before. And I remember walking around in her OPDs and otherwise. There was no concept of separate conversation rooms those days. The conversations were very much, kind of spoken in the
In the living
corridors and all that.
room. Huh.
No, not in the living room. Our residence is actually on top. In those days, we had only a one room at the back of the hospital, so it was like my playground. And I used to, kind of hover around my mother's OPDs. The labor room was very close, so I always found myself, even when I was very small, surrounded by these women, either conversing with my mom or delivering or talking about pregnancies or talking about our issues. And my favorite pastime, I still remember, used to be giving the change. I used to be the counting man, counting girl, and that's how I learned my counting, to give them back the exact amount of change. But as much as I would have I grew up actually listening to these conversations a lot. Of course, those days it didn't make much sense because I was quite small. But as I grew in my own teens and in my adulthood, these conversations were not the only. So I kind of changed, even though I hadn't experienced it. And maybe that's why I think, even though I don't work, I the disclaimer for this talk would be that I'm not a sexologist, I'm not a sexologist, I'm not a tantra over here. I'm not talking about anything that happens. But yes, I have been a witness to lots and lots of conversations, lots and lots of problems, and as the talk goes about, I've seen lots of sexual challenges in women. And as a doctor, these are also now a part of my OPD conversations, which of course are very private, which we cannot share. But there is a lot of trauma I always feel in women about talking about sex and sexual issues. And I think that's the reason I was wondering why KanchanTodi has invited me for Chai Pe Charcha, because this is not the conversation we have in Charcha. It's usually the bedroom and the closed doors. Sex in our country is usually a very hush hush thing. We don't talk. We don't like to talk in front of our kids. Usually it's just with our spouse, and maximum we will discuss it with our close friends and in our close family circles and with the women we feel safe with. But there's a time now, I think, considering the fact that so much of things go in and around women and sexual issues, that we should be able to address some of them. And I think that's the intent for this conversation as well. So thank you so much.
Why are we having this conversation? Like, why? सदियों से तो मतलब you have a womb, you are a woman, you will have sexual challenges. Though I'm so sorry I did not post on the promo material saying that this is only about women, because this isn't. Femininity is not only about women, though we will be talking mostly about women health and creation. Uh, Dr. Geetanjali, why choose this topic? Why choose this topic as a path to heal trauma? You are a great trauma specialist for ages. I think, like, I don't know, for a long time, the longest I know you. And why is this so important, and why is grief or trauma linked to the womb, and how?
Yeah, so talking about it medically, when I am going to mix up a little bit of medical knowledge here with experience,
Please,
like
not
which
no
I have.
technicals, no technicals.
It's not technical,
Dr.
but what I'm
G,
just saying,
Dr. G, no technicals.
there is no technical issues. What I'm just saying is, a woman, when we define, in medical circles, is defined as a woman the moment she attains menarche. And we talk about her reproductive cycle from menarche to
Menarche.
menopause.
What is menarche? What is
Menarche,
menarche?
menarche is menarche is beginning of menstruation, And menopause is ceasing of menstruation. And as we are taught, and as we were told, and as the definition went, that it was just kind of loss of 30 ml of blood every month that happened to a woman. But unfortunately, a woman, right from her reproductive cycle, when she starts to menstruate at the age of 14 to the time when it ceases to be, goes through her own sexual challenge in every decade. So, the reason why we need to address this is that we need to first understand those challenges. And those challenges to me, I've come across that the challenge for a teenager, you know, when she's just attained, has become mature as a woman, is very different from the challenge that an adolescent woman would face. So maybe probably in the teens, she's only her sexual challenge is what? It's not active sex life at that moment. She is just wanting to be noticed. She is just wanting to be seen. She is just wanting, as she is growing in the awareness of her body, of her sexual organs, and as she is undergoing a lot of hormonal changes, she is experiencing womanhood in herself. What is that womanhood about? Is it all about just pads, or is it more than that? And that is the place where we as mature women and as mothers now, we are here to educate our daughters what was not taught to us at many, many levels. We talk about a body shame. We talk about many other things. Can we, as mothers, accept our daughters the way they are and teach them not to have this body shame business anymore, what we have struggled with at the age of 40s? Also, if you actually take just the cycle, I will just give you examples because I'm sure there will be many men and women here on this platform listening to us in this conversation. When a woman, when an adolescent, as a woman who's just getting married, her sexual challenge at that point of time is maybe just shedding a lot of shame. She's first time coming in contact with a male whom she hardly knows, and she has to shed her shame and her clothes before she engages into a sexual activity. That challenge is very different for a woman who is in her late 20s, who has already procreated. We tend to confuse sex with a lot of procreation and recreation business, and we tend to label it a lot. We are a society which has got a lot of moral thing attached to it, and I think sex is as good as a natural urge. It's like brushing. It's you are blessed with beautiful organs. It's a natural urge. It's a natural instinct, just that it has got more nerve endings. So what do you do? How do you relate to that? And that is why these conversations need to be had with teenagers, with adolescents, and with women. When they come to our OPDs for various reasons, they're not there to take medicines for that. They're actually there exhibiting a certain amount of trauma which has been there with them. And that is what I address as a medical doctor or as a surgeon or whatever. And that is what I feel is a strong place for me to kind of step into and guide them into it. And I think as I have learned sexuality and as I've experienced my own sexuality, in different decades of my own growing up, I view sex very differently now than what I used to view sex when I was 17 or 18.
Why do we use this term sacred sexuality? Sex is sex. What is sacred sex? मतलब आज के दिन में who talks about sacred sex? Who?
Yeah, so it's very personal thing for everybody. I'm sure we cannot put the same question to a sexual sex worker. She's doing it as a means of living, right? But I am sure we are not here to actually label them into the moral labels. For her, sex with a man who appreciates her and loves her, which she may not get, maybe a sacred part of her. So we cannot devalue a woman for whatever views she holds about sex. And as I interact with more of men friends now who are more open to it, having these conversations, I remember one of them telling me, like, what is it that you are so, why do you attach so much of kind of sharam and lihaz and sacredness to it? It's just sex, as you said. It's like a natural urge. It's a part of the body process. It's a part of the body system. But what we need to realize is what it means for me. What is the awareness of about sex that I am having today? What is it that has changed in me, right? So when I probably can talk from my experience. I am open to sharing it. I can probably talk from the various experiences I have come across. But I think for me personally, sex is something very sacred, because when I indulge into this activity, I am offering my body to a man to indulge into an act of sexual play, which can only happen by physical
But
union.
sorry to interrupt you here. लेकिन please सुन लो. Why do we have to involve men in every emotion?
Yeah, that's probably the mistake that we make, because we are very conditioned society. हमारे यहाँ when we grow up, we are told कि पति परमेश्वर है. पति परमेश्वर है या नहीं है, that is going to be a whole lot of time when he has to prove himself. We attach a certain amount of godliness just to a normal human being, and that's how we are conditioned, and that's why the issues of morality come to us, because we have been taught a lot about this. So personally, I come from a very orthodox middle class kind of a background, and I also used to think exactly like that. For me, the first man that I met, I married, and that's it. The whole thing remained just like that. But today, when I actually am able to understand my own sexual nature, not that I need to engage with every man sexually, I understand and interpret sex in a different manner. Sex is just maybe an act of receiving and giving physically. That's it. So maybe you're right, because we tend to, attach our own labels depending on the kind of backgrounds that we come from. And it is for us to realize at what definition we want to give it. It doesn't have to be sacred for everybody. It's all right. So we are not here to
It's
question
sacred.
anybody's views. Sacred is, again, what's your definition? It depends on what's your definition of sacred. Okay, so for me, when I offer myself, my sacredness would be bringing entire honesty in front of a man, right? And it's not, it cannot be about the bodies, right? With the body, what you're going to just shed a few layers of your clothes to become nude in front of a person. But what is it that I bring to that nuptial bed where I am going to be sleeping with a man? What is that sacredness? For me, I expect my man to be very honest and trustworthy for me, just I am to him, and that is my sacredness. And in full devotion, I surrender my body to him is my definition of sacredness. But it can vary from different for different women and in different contexts, and vice versa, right? So that is how I look at it.
And what could be the side effects of the trauma which is caused due to random sexual activities?
Yeah,
Or
so that's
maybe
again,
some history and some moment. There could be two traumas, either it's a history and a moment or a random series of randoms.
so to just share an experience, Kanchan, recently we were treating a woman who came on the post first night, and she came to us heavily bleeding, extremely heavily bleeding. And yes, we do come across many women with hymenal rupture right on the first night, but this woman was profusely bleeding, and she was told that don't even mention it, because it was a thing of shame, and everybody told her in the family that this happens. But when she came to us, she was completely pulseless, heavily bleeding, and she really didn't know what to do. She was in a different atmosphere. And when we actually inquired about the history of trauma that she had sustained, she wasn't even sure like how it happened to her. At that moment, we put all our efforts in kind of saving her from that, and she became all right. But can you imagine that this woman, when she's going to go back to her husband or to her same natural surroundings, what is the experience that she's going to have? So a trauma can be as trivial as this. A trauma can come from even before you engage in an active sexual life. A trauma can be there in an adolescent who's been touched at inappropriately at wrong places in the family or outside circles. She's not feeling very comfortable with the act of somebody touching her. So there is when we talk about trauma, it is in different aspects, and each woman has whole lot of experiences to share, to come many times. And there's so many stories, around it which we hear. And yeah, so it could be just that, to just give you an example.
is there a moment where you felt that, this is the moment where you decided that, I am not going through the trauma anymore, or you decided to let go of your trauma? Or how did it happen? How did the healing happen?
So I'll talk about my sexual challenge, because when we are in conversations, I think we have to be first honest within ourselves. And I think my biggest sexual challenge has been uh, right in the time of my pregnancies and during the childbirthing time, because I remember that for a very long time I did not engage into a sexual activity because my partner was very scared. He did not know, though we are both doctors and we both come from a very knowledgeable kind of a background, but many times
Both
when that
doctors.
act when yes. And many times when that thing is not fulfilled into you, it's a body urge. Again, let's be very honest about it. It's a body urge, like just like how we, how our heart beats, how we eat, how we comb our hair. It's something that is going. It's a need of the body, and especially when you have started to engage into it. So I remember that for many time, the time right from pregnancies to the time my child was for almost a year, I did not have any sexual engagement, and that was very traumatizing for me in the body, because I did not really know how to kind of control my urges at that moment. And the second challenge did come through it when my husband was going through a major disease process, and that was again kind of a dry run in your own life for many years. And here you are, a woman who's had a good great sexual experience, you've been having, who's got a good sexual blissful life, and then suddenly you don't know what to do about it. You're not going to blame your partner for falling sick. You're not going to. And again, this is not the story just of me. This, there are many people who go through many disease states. I mean, I'm talking about women over here who land up with complicated surgeries, and they come back and they are into this process for many years. How does a woman like that go back into an act and engage back with the same partner with whom she's become comfortable and get active? So those are the challenges which we as women first need to know. First, we need to understand that whether we have a challenge, whether we are really bothered by it. I'm sure there are many women who don't really feel it that way. Who will say it's okay, hota hai. Because when I spoke to women about the same topic, and I asked, they said कि नहीं दीदी हम मन को मार लेते हैं.
होता तो
I did not
इसलिए है ना,
understand.
बिकॉज उनको पता ही नहीं है कि कुछ और भी हो सकता है.
Exactly. So they will tell me as simple as thing, and they're pretty satisfied women. They don't look like the types who are going around looking men hunting. These are regular, normal women with, if I could say, from a normal socioeconomic strata, and they tell कि हम अपने मन को मार लेते हैं. And I've spoken to them, and I've asked them. I said, ये मन को कैसे मारा जाता है? The whole talk is about ki how do you satisfy or how do you curb or suppress a physical urge mentally or emotionally. It's like, okay, I want to have food, but I will fast. So this is a challenge that a woman has to kind of understand whether what is her feeling about it.
It's all
There are
about
many of us who
choices,
don't.
right? It's all about choices. So who are we to label that what sex is sacred and what sex is not sacred?
So don't label it. You have sex your way. As I said, we are not here to actually question anybody's sacredness or not so sacredness. Sex is just sex. That's it. It's very plain, simple act of coming into physical union, right? So who are we to even say ki, what are we going to practice? Yes, but I want to know that can we? Everybody knows how to have sex. Even an animal knows how to have sex. It's only human beings who are attaching a mental and an emotional content. When we are actually looking at a pornographic material, we are not having sex, yet we are feeling the arousal. Our mind is full of sex, our thoughts are full of sex. The kind of digital media that floats around nowadays, our kids have access to whatever sex is all about. Do they engage in a physical thing? No, they know. So for me, I want to know as a woman whether I can take my
The other
experience of
day,
sex today
the
to
other
an
day I was
elevated level.
sorry. The other day I was having a conversation with a very dear friend, musician friend, and we were just having chit chat about life. He said, I had my knowledge of sex at the age of 5, thanks to men in the family playing porn on those VCR cassettes. So why is it that porn associated only with men and not women?
So I want to ask, I mean, just addressing, because it's a very important thing that you raised, is knowledge enough? Is knowledge enough to have sex? So suppose I read about intercourse, and suppose I read the Veds, and suppose I read Tantra. Am I going to have a good sex life? Because whatever knowledge is, it is just still a visual stimulation. We are only visually or mentally stimulated, but that's not sex. Sex, like an activity, it's a discovery of your body, which is facilitated by your partner. First is discovery, and then going through cycles of it through our marriage or other lives otherwise, or through whatever relationship that we have through our partners, we are discovering our own sexual nature, our own sexuality, and rediscover. When we talk about rediscovery, it comes to a point to what level I can take my sexuality. So just to again re-emphasize, is the sexual nature of a woman, does it stop after she has menopause? Is a woman after 50 not supposed to have any sexual feelings? What about our
You like reading my
grandmothers? They
mind.
hardly talk about sex. So
Please
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I'm yet to but you know what? Yeah. So what I just understand is that I have never really seen women in in elderly group. I'm talking about 60s and 70s talking about sex as we are having this
What
conversation,
is
because
elderly?
somewhere above 60, or I'm talking about people like my mother, who are in 70s and 60s. So when
But
you
why
bring
are
the
you
topic of sex,
labeling? Why label? I have a friend, Mala Mansukhani, who's 62 plus, and oh my God, she's so fit. Why do
yeah,
we as
so
women
fit, what
label ourselves?
So that's what I want to question. Sometimes it actually, urges me to ask these women that what are their views on sex after they have gone through acts of procreation, recreation, and whatever they had associated sex with. But now, with some of them, don't even have partners at this moment, having been widowed or having gone through many experiences. But when I talk to them, there are no urges left in the body. They've actually reached a level beyond sexual act itself, and they've come to a very nice grounded place in which they talk very wisely about sex, and that's a great knowledge to imbibe from these women. And every time I have conversations with them, it's very interesting, because I really want to ask them many times as to how do they feel, and they seem to be completely satisfied. And here we are, women in 20s, 30s, and 40s, having sexual activity. Probably this one, still there is something we are seeking. What is it seeking all about? So for me, sexuality is about seeking about that ultimate thing that I'm still seeking at my level. So I want to know what is that place, and I want to reach that place. And if a partner is going to take me through it, he's most welcome.
So beautifully expressed, Dr. G. However, world isn't like that. It isn't so easy. We can think what we want to think.
Yes.
People, for a lot of us, even for you and me, at one point in time, it was a challenge to accept our own selves. What about those women who are in the place where they can't speak their truth?
Unfortunately, there are many women like that. Right, when you actually associate with them, when you encourage them, and when they feel safer, I come across regularly with women who are beautiful, who are kind of uh, right, like mid 30s or 40s, and they haven't had a normal sex life for a very long time, and they don't know the reasons. They're the same women, they're the same bodies. Somewhere down the line, the desires or the partner's engagement in that has completely dwindled, and that leaves them very confusing. Because for a woman, I mean, if you say a woman has to engage into the act of procreation or recreation as nature has built her, she uses her body as a means to get more love. She knows her body very well, and she uses that as a channel, as a vessel to lure her lover or beloved in giving him an experience of a sexual bliss. And that is what she, and then what happens somewhere down the line, something does get extinguished, and that is a place for exploration for men and women alike, which is what they need to really seek. Why and what are the reasons for that? So
Basically,
what is
all
it that
you're
you,
saying is have a little fun, man.
we talk about everything, we talk
Or
about
women.
pleasure. Yeah,
Or
sex
both
cannot be
of them.
like a leftover. Sex unfortunately has become in a stressful life like a leftover insipid meal lying in the fridge that you just engage into an activity, or like just let's warm it up and just have it and like okay feel satiety. But are you feeling satisfied? Are you happy just having the same dish served to you in the same manner? What is that you would like to explore? Are you willing to create? Are you willing to tell? As you said, many of the women are trapped in this thing where they don't even speak of this trauma anymore. Another woman quoted an example and she said, my husband comes to me drunk every night, and the smell of alcohol just puts me off. And I said, then how do you engage into it? He said, no, I just, let him do whatever he has to do. But I don't like it. Yet this woman will never tell her husband that she is not enjoying the activity at all. And this is unfortunately going to continue unless we learn to communicate to our partners. We talk about consent, but do we really have a consent to engage into, let's say, like even if it's for recreation? Have we mutually consented that we're going to, use this activity now to really recreate? Are we really recreating? Or is it just like, you come, let's finish off things in few minutes time, and you turn your back and you go to sleep and I go to sleep and let's go to office tomorrow? Unfortunately, sexual life has become like that. We and forget recreation, we now can't even procreate in the process, and that's how the couples will come with great, they are great looking couples, they have nothing wrong with them. They come to us loaded with their files, which says nothing, yet they cannot even procreate for whatever thing. So if sex was about procreation or recreation itself, please let your intent be a little honest. Let's be very very clear as to why are we engaging into it. Fine, if it's procreation, good. What happens after the procreation? You get pregnant again, and then next time you take your partner back and visit to my hospital and said, this fellow's got me pregnant and I don't want to have sex with him anymore. That's the language women speak to us. And it's unfortunate because the same partner with whom they've had blissful life, they have babies in their hands, are the ones who are the scapegoats and blamegoats. They don't know where to look. So there's a lot of shame. There is a lot of blame game that goes even in the bedrooms. And I think that is where this space needs to be really, really clear. Clear intentions is how I have begun to understand it, because now when I engage into this activity, I really need to know like what is it for me. I want to be a little selfish too, because it's my body. I don't want it to be used just an object of pleasure. I also want to have my pie of pleasure.
It takes a lot and lot and lot of guts, and maybe mm, a lot of that fire also. कुछ तो बदलना है. For women like you and me to come on public forum, for women like Evelyn to and the entire Sacred Women tribe to come together to talk about our womb, the place of creation, because this is neither recreation nor procreation. The womb is the place for creation, it is the place for love. And for my 4 decades plus of life, only when you introduced me to the uh, group within, I came to know about more things about what it is to have a womb, to feel a womb. And I think probably that was one reason, I was always very challenged around opposite energies. And when I say opposite energies, you know which place I'm coming from. This is the language I used to speak like when we first met. It's only recently through the healing journey that I came to know that no, it's not the opposite energy. It is the completing energy. It is the missing piece in the puzzle. And though we do not acknowledge womb healing, today Sacred Lotus Womb Academy has come up with a program for, for feminine in any which body, to come and heal their wounds of the womb. And what do you think will be the takeaway for people? I've been a part of the journey, so I understand. However, for my viewers, I'd like you to share what will be the part of takeaway.
See, I'm just like you. I'm so blessed to be a part of these sacred women circles in past 2.5 years, which was not the space for medicine for me. This is where the sacredness came, because as I listened to more and more stories and more trauma that we came, I realized that somewhere along the lines we all resonated with each other. We had a lot of guilt inside us. We had a lot of shame to be seen and to approach somebody else. We were still dealing with a lot of our own past baggages. And that is what is all stored inside the wombs. It's time for us to clear
Doc-
ourselves of that baggage.
Dr. G, does do all women go through? Do all feminine energies go through womb trauma?
No, not necessarily. It totally depends. See, like I wouldn't say I'm a traumatized woman. I can only speak for myself, right? Uh, so for me, I'm not a traumatized individual in that respect. But somewhere down the line, what has traumatized me is my body and how I was to relate to my body. And I realized that it is very important for a woman to be aware of her body and her own body energies. Am I audible?
Yeah, you audible. You audible. Please carry on. Uh, Admin, can we check with Dr. G's video? Hey, welcome back. Welcome
Yes.
back.
Sorry.
Yeah.
As I was saying that for a woman per se, it's very important to be aware of her own sexual nature, of her own sexuality first of all. And this is what womb healing or any kind of these groups where we learn about these, the body awareness is something that comes to us. And when body awareness comes, and also a lot of emotional and mental awareness about anything per se, womb being a very important channel. And I know I have cleared lots of my own trauma, and that this trauma was not coming from a physical insult. It was coming from my own way, the way I perceived and I kept perceiving sex in the different decades I grew up as a woman. And today, reaching somewhere close to menopause again, maybe in my late 40s, I view this very differently. I have learned how to control my sexual urges through these processes. So that's why these kind of programs need to be introduced to more and more women, whoever are inclined or whoever feel drawn to these programs, and experience for
Uh,
themselves
moving,
and give a definite.
moving ahead from women, we understand that these workshops, these trainings are primarily for women. How will it help the men? How will it help them align with their masculine energy as well? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. G? Hey guys, looks like there's a technical glitch. Hi, welcome
Yeah,
back.
I can hear you.
Yeah, so how would womb healing help one align both masculine and feminine energies or heal both?
So I will again say that when I heal myself, I am healing both the energies inside me within. I am healing the feminine energy that I carry and the masculine energy also. I am coming within a union within myself where I don't need a man only to satisfy me. And therefore, the requirement of a man to satisfy me sexually, mentally, emotionally is kind of done with. When I am satisfied within myself and when I go to bed with my partner at that point of time of completion, I seek nothing from him. At that point, for me, sex becomes very sacred because it is about me coming in full honesty, fully united, where I'm not seeking a man or his organs to satisfy me at all. So I would say that I encourage each woman to come and experience this space for herself, to understand herself better. And when somebody is healing from within, automatically it will extend to our bedrooms, to our families, to our social circles, and we are going to have a more balanced society. When a woman changes, a man is automatically bound to change.
Dr. Gitanjali, from that one moonlight night of chai conversation on a terrace in Rishikesh, wherein we, as around 9, 10 feminine energies, united and shared our womb traumas, shared our womb challenges with each other. That space, that magic moment was so healing. So, do you think that, even conversations like ours, wherein we just talk about the topic, we just share our uncaged soul, and do you think that itself, that as well creates healing for the womb of the earth?
Yes, it does. It does.
How?
Because we are just all, this is not just one womb. We are all connected by the womb, and then from our wombs we are connected to the womb of Mother Gaia. When we heal, the Mother Earth heals automatically. When we heal within us, what are we going to emanate? We are going to emanate that nurturing, that energy which exists within you, within me, with our daughters, within our families. And it is this space the feminine is asked to rise, not from the masculine space now. We have had a lot of battles with our own masculine energies for decades now, and we're tired. We're really tired. We don't want to be that man anymore. Yes, we need that man within ourselves to still do and be who we are. Yet, at the same time, the feminine energy that has to flow now is the gentlest, the one that knows how to love, the one that knows how to care, the one who knows how to nourish. And that is that the when we do that,
Nurture.
nurture. And when we do that, Mother Earth automatically heals. What are you doing with the child on a FB page, holding her? And so many times when I see those photographs of you, KanchanTodi, for the organization that you work with, I know, the mother in you is getting fulfilled and the children in you are receiving that energy, whether you have birthed them or not.
So,
We are natural born mothers.
I started like 10 years, 11 years back, the foundation, and it had come from a very, very motherly love. And today, two of my then kids, now youth, came to visit me home. And then later, there were two more mentees. So I was like, I am done. I now want to nurture youth more than children. My children have grown up. My children have grown up. So maybe even I need to grow up from being mother to little kids to mother to youth, or maybe just being there for the youth, being known. no connect, no relationships, no labels, no taglines, nothing. Just being there.
Yes. Yeah, so we have definitely had a journey from our teenage to the girlfriends, to wives, to mothers, and of course, we are also living in an era of grandmothers. There is a lot of healing that goes just by, in families when we just sit together in these circles and get this wisdom, immense amount of wisdom, flowing from each other, and sometimes you're so surprised that you don't even know a trauma exists yet, through somebody's words, through somebody's poem, through somebody's talk, through somebody's sharing. You just heal. You don't have to revisit the trauma anymore, but you just know it's not yours. It's the collective. It exists in the collective, and when we experience and we have compassion for that trauma and we are able to hold and touch our wounds without any shame, we know we have healed.
Dr. Gitanjali, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on. And we've done that. We've like started a chai conversation with the moon rising and finished it with the sun rising. It's been such an honor to have you here, and such a privilege to be associated with the Sacred Lotus Moon Academy. You know, it feels like, maybe we are taking the first right step with FY 2021 and 2022. We change the world. Let the feminine rise. Let her realize her own power.
And so be
I
it.
I love you, Dr. Geetanjali Chauhan. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. And thank you for being a part of the Chai Shai conversations.
Thank you, Kanchan. Again, it's been an honor being here. I don't know whether I have been able to address, because this is a topic which is way beyond 45 minutes conversations. And every time the conversations need to be tailor-made depending on what a woman needs from us. We are here to help, nurture, grow, hold hands, and collaborate together. So as you said, yes, let the feminine rise. And so be it. Thank you so much.
Good night, guys out there, and do take very good care of yourself. Lots of love to each one of you.